Hi, my name is Mayur and this is demo for Comp 281 Cloud Technologies personal project. Uh, the goal of this project is to demonstrate CAP theorem with partition tolerance. For that, I've selected MongoDB as CP NoSQL database and Cassandra as AP NoSQL database. Uh, we have to see how these systems behave in during the normal boot, during the partition, and after the partition. So let's go over to the architecture diagram in AWS. Uh, the architecture for both the database is similar. I've deployed this cluster into two regions, North Virginia and Ohio region. Every node in this cluster is deployed into different availability zones in private subnet. They internally connect to each other using the security groups settings, plus over the VPC they connect using VPC peering. So I'll be connecting to these hosts using Jumpbox, and to connect private instances to internet there is NAT instance available. So if you look into CIDR for NoSQL, VPC on North Virginia, it's 10.0.0.0.16, and for Ohio, it's 10.1.0.0.16. Please note that this all instances are in different availability zone. So let's go over to the instances. So these are the three instances that I'm talking about in North Virginia region, and in Ohio region there are two MongoDB instances with Gembox. So for VPC, this is the VPC. I've created three private subnets and one public subnet, as well as VPC peering connection exist on the requester CIDR is 10.0.0.16 and 10.1.0.0.16. Let's go over the security groups as well. I've created Cassandra cluster group as well as MongoDB cluster group so that internally nodes can connect with each other. Let's go over to the MongoDB cluster group. So it accepts connections from Jumpbox on 22, and on the same internal MongoDB cluster security group it accepts connections on 27017 port, as well as from the different region through VPC peering. Okay, now let's go to the actual hosts. So the IP address for Mongo 1 is 136.267 and 188. So I'm here connecting to these three hosts, 136, 67 and 88. So these are the Mongo 1, Mongo 2 and Mongo 3 instances. Let's connect to Mongo 4 and Mongo 5 as well. Okay, so now this cluster is currently operating in normal mode. So what we'll do is we'll connect to the MongoDB replica set node on every host. Here as well. Okay, if you look at this, for the North Virginia region, this particular Mongo 1 is currently primary, acting as primary, and everybody is secondary. For the Ohio region as well, both the nodes are secondary. Now MongoDB doesn't allow the writes, and by default reads as well on the secondary node. It's just for the replication purpose. So what we'll do is we'll trigger this command on secondary nodes so that we can read on secondary node. Okay, and on this secondary Okay, now let's just check the replica set status on primary. So this cluster is currently operating in normal mode. If you look into it, 0 id 0, the node is primary, it's mongo 1 and mongo 2, and the remaining ones mongo 3, mongo 4 and mongo 5. So currently the cluster is operating in normal mode. If you check db.test.count, the count is 0 on this collection. Check into secondary as well. Yeah, and similarly on the different region. It's correct. So now what we'll do is uh, so these are the helper functions that I have created for the data insertion. So what we'll do is we'll add these helper functions here. This will create the random name and random date for us. So the functions are now available. Now what we'll do is we'll create the or we'll insert the data on primary node and see replication is happening in normal mode. So what this will do is this will wait 2 seconds in between so that we can see replication happening. So this will insert a 60 records. So let's just trigger that and check here, the count is 11 and 19. So the replication is happening across the cluster on secondary nodes. If you check the count here as well, the count is 60. Now the replication is complete. Similarly, you can see if you check, if you delete the or remove the records from the primary node, the count again 0. So under normal behavior, system is operating normally and replication is happening properly. Now what we'll do is we'll add 1 second timing here and we'll try to insert the data again. Meanwhile, in between we'll create the network partition. Okay, so on primary it will take 1 minute to insert all the 60 record, and we'll modify the route tables so that connections from North Virginia region to OI region using this pairing connection will not go. So let's just trigger the replication and edit the routes, remove this route table. Okay, so what happened is here the db count is 15, 18. The count is increasing in this particular region because this is North Virginia region. The insertion is still in progress, while for the OI region the count is 8. Because we have created partition during the replication process, this count will not go beyond 8 because the replication is not happening on this. But for this, if you check, the count is 47. Now the records are 47. So replication is happening in the North Virginia region, but not in the OI region. So with this, the conclusion is the system at the OI region is unavailable, and MongoDB relies on or enforces consistency during the partition. So this doesn't accept, or this system has stale data. So now the insertion is or the population is complete. Now the records at this particular region are 60. So now what we'll do is we'll recur from the partition, by adding the routes. We'll add 10.1.0.0 and accept from VPC peering connection and see how the system behaves. See, if you look at it, the records here are now 60 on this particular region. It was as it is. So the system becomes consistent after recovering from network partition. So this completes demo for MongoDB. Now let's go over Cassandra for AP system. Okay, let's look at the Cassandra nodes. So this is Jumpbox, and I have in North Virginia region I have Cassandra 1, 2, 3. Let's close this. And in OI region I have Cassandra 4 and Cassandra 5 with only private IP addresses. Now what we'll do is let's connect to, so the IP addresses for Cassandra 1 is 136, 205 and 393. So 136, 205 and 393. So we are on Cassandra 1, 2 and 3 respectively on North Virginia region, and for OI region it's Cassandra 4 and 5 with IP addresses 165 and 27 respectively. So 165 and 27 respectively. So we are now connected to Cassandra cluster. So you can check the cluster status by using this command. So if you go here, there is something wrong. Let's trigger again. We'll restart the Cassandra service. It may be because of the partition that we have created. Let's check status here. Okay, so if you look at the status here, so this Cassandra basically divides the cluster into data centers. So this is the North Virginia region, and the cluster is getting back. So if you see the status here, you see UN here, that means up and operating in normal mode. And this is divided, cluster is divided onto data center into racks. So this is basically based upon the region. Okay, so cluster is back to normal. So you should check the status on every node. Let's check the status. Okay, UN on every node. This is for OI region, the two nodes that we have, and this is for North Virginia region. So the cluster is currently operating in normal mode. So we'll connect to cluster on every node. Now that we have connected to every node, let's just describe the cluster. So the cluster is NoSQL. Now what we'll do is we create the key spaces. We, for this particular key space, we are providing a replication strategy as a network topology strategy with a replication factor for US East region 2 and US East 2 region the 1, replication factor 1. So if you describe the key spaces on every node, now it should be, the test should be available here. So if you look at this, the replication is happening properly for the key spaces as well. So what we'll do is we'll use this key space and describe tables inside it. There are no tables, so we'll create the empty table, EMP table for it. And if you see here, now that the table is also replicated. Now what we'll do is we'll insert dummy data on this particular cluster before partition. And if you look into it, so everything is replicated on every node of it. So for this, we'll do use test. And describe table as well. So data is replicated to the cluster. Sorry. So the replication is happening properly in normal circumstances. So what we'll do is we'll create a partition again using the same methodology, using route table. Edit the routes, and now we'll insert data into North Virginia region. And check from here. So the data is replicated. If you look at this with employee ID 4 and 5, the data is replicated here. But if you look at here from OI region, the data is not here. So this confirms the network partition. Now what we'll do is we'll add data from OI region. Okay, and if you check the data, so you can add data in OI region itself. So this confirms that Cassandra cluster prefers availability because both accepts writes, and but the data is inconsistent. It is the data is stale. So if you look at here, we still have 1 2 3, that is the basic data, and 4 5, but here 1 2 3 id and 7 6. Now as we recover from the network partition, so if you look at it on Ohio region, the replication is still happening. We'll give some time. So system is currently recovering from the partition. So let's just exit from here. So if you see, the data is now replicated to entire cluster. That's it for the Cassandra. Thank you.